Okay, I'm back. So it's 2 o'clock exact p.m. So three more short stories that I wrote within the past few days that I'm writing. That I'm gonna gonna read to y'all. I was gonna do them separately, but I'm gonna do all three of them. So I've been just getting like excited, maybe because I'm still new, but me being excited about writing, my short stories and my sharing creativity and stuff like that. So this first short story is called um, "The Greedy Animal." Sutton Giordano was a short, chubby middle school kid who was forced to see a psychiatrist and take medicine. He was abused as a child and forced to being in and out of group homes. Sutton was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, ADHD, Asperger's, and bipolar. He was a bright kid but had mild learning disabilities. In this one group home, he was bullied and abused by staff and residents so badly that he couldn't take it anymore and tried to run away. After Sutton tried but failed to run away, they threw him in a children's mental hospital where he was forced to deal with bullies and staff more brutal and abusive than everyone at the group home. They kept the poor boy sedated and zombified. Sutton was an Italian 12-year-old seventh grader. He was tan and looked Middle Eastern and sort of Ethiopian. Maybe he was mixed or Afro-Italian. He had a long wavy ponytail. The kids used to yank and pull his hair and then laugh. He couldn't even drink a sip of water without eating a peppermint. He couldn't drink a sip of water or eat a peppermint without being called greedy. Even if the kids at the mental hospital wanted to get more cruel, they would call him a greedy animal. They laughed and said that he should never ever have offspring because he could be his own animal species. That he could be his own animal species. Sutton would cry, have panic attacks, meltdowns, etc. He couldn't escape from the cruelty and abuse. The staff were in on it, and they falsely accused him of always being a troublemaker and starting mess when he tried to defend himself, when actually the other kids were bullying him. The kids even taunted and harassed him with Michael Jackson's song, "Wanna Be Starting Something." Y'all remember that "Wanna Be Starting Something" song? The psych medications he was on made him hungry. They put him on 12 different medications, not all for psychiatric reasons. He suffered open heart surgery complications and nearly died when he was 3. He also had asthma. It was a miracle that he was still alive. It was unfair to be treated like that. Children don't deserve this. Then a loving adoptive family took him in, worked without a doctor to help him get weaned off of all those psychiatric meds. Now I'm like this because I'm like, wait a minute, I know I'm sitting here wondering, did the perps come in and freaking alter my stuff? Because I know I proofread this before. I don't even know. But anyway, a loving adoptive family took him in, worked without a doctor to help him get weaned off all those psychiatric meds, but did it slowly, carefully, and prayerfully. They fed him organic, unprocessed foods, and he also drank lots of smoothies and juices. He lost all that weight. Also, he was always jogging and playing a lot of soccer. They read the Bible with him, homeschooled him, and prayed with him and for him. He turned out to be a teen street preacher on a Saturday mornings down by the river. Sutton was looking much better. And then one of the kids who used to call him a greedy animal said that him and his offspring could be their own species. Couldn't handle what she saw. All she could do was put her head down, and she ducked and hid and ran, hoping that he didn't see her. He didn't see her. The end. So the next story, I just don't feel like reading out loud, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So this story is called Santa Monica Pier Busking. Mario Montero, an immigrant from Guatemala, moved to Culver City, California when he was 9 years old. He knew not a lick of English. He loved to dance and sing, ever since he could walk and talk. He also learned English very quickly and loved everything about American culture. By the time he was 18, he moved away from California and then moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama with his older sister Monica. Monica had a white fiance named Brent Tate. Brent Tate was financially well off. He came from a family that was wealthy enough that he didn't need to work if he didn't have to. Brent didn't believe in living for free off of his rich parents. His four brothers were money hungry. He didn't have any sisters. He thought he was too cool for college. He preferred to make an honest living off of his own labor and not somebody else's. He was a firm believer in that. He was a mechanic who had a side hobby of playing the Spanish guitar. Because of the fact that Mario moved to Alabama by his sister, he felt like he made a big mistake because he couldn't get a job out there whatsoever. He desired to go to college but didn't have the money. Mario and Brent were good friends, but Brent didn't want Mario working with him because he didn't want business to get conflicted with home life since Mario was living with them. Because of that, they would get into altercations when Brent got drunk. When they argued, Brent would call Mario a lazy, money-hungry leech and freeloader. It wasn't Mario's fault that he couldn't get a job somewhere else, but he tried what he could. Also, his limited English proficiency hindered him. Brent was an alcoholic, sadly. When on good terms, when Brent was sober, Mario and Brent would do music together. Brent would play his Spanish guitar while Mario was singing and dancing both Spanish and English. Monica found out that she was pregnant and Brent wasn't ready yet. Monica told Brent that he would have to quit drinking for the sake of the baby. Then Brent got angry and left the house, never came back. Monica had a job working as a manager at Ross clothing store. She was forced to live off of one income since Brent left. And later on, she found out that he was in jail for DUI. Brent never called anyone to bail him out. Their lease was up, and then Monica told her brother Mario that she thought it would be a better idea if they moved back to Culver City. The apartment was in Monica's name, not Brent's. So that's what made it easier. She put in her 2 weeks notice for her job before they moved out of Tuscaloosa. Yeah, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Yeah. Monica and Mario couldn't afford to fly or rent a car, so they were forced to take the Greyhound bus. They left and never looked back. They never contacted Brent again. They both went to go back to their childhood home. They didn't realize that their family members moved back to Guatemala for emergency reasons without telling them. They unfortunately ended up homeless. Monica was able to easily get into a shelter because she was pregnant, but Mario was forced to fend for himself on the streets. Mario and Monica would meet up every day, checking up on each other. Monica was easily able to get a job at Fallas Paredes in downtown LA because of her previous and recent management experience. Mario was able to work temp service through the Chrysalis program in Skid Row. On his off days or when there was no work available for him, and when the weather was nice, he still had to panhandle to work his way up to get in his own place. He figured that he would make more money busking. He didn't know it was called busking though. He bought himself the same kind of Spanish guitar that was identical to Brent's. Excuse me. I guess I am sleepy and tired. I'm thinking about going to take a nap after I'm finished reading these short stories. He took the Red Line train from Pershing Square and then transferred to the Expo Line all the way to Santa Monica on his off days. He would also do some temp work in Santa Monica, so it was no biggie for the same daily routine. He would go on a pier and practice teaching himself how to play. Okay. On his first day, everyone thought he sounded good enough that they thought he had been playing that Spanish guitar for over 20 years. One person paid for his lunch and treated him out to Bubblegum Shrimp Company on the pier. Then he went back to playing. Mario liked the busking, singing, and dancing idea and felt like he could make enough money off of that alone. Naturally, he quit the temp service job and he was getting a lot of attention and money. He loved doing what he did. There were people offering him record deals left and right, but when he realized it would cost him his soul and he'd have to become a puppet and do questionable things, he refused. They also wanted him to become a model. He preferred his freedom and liberty, and he wanted total control over his music. Some days he even went to Venice Beach to perform. He had fun with it and switched up every week with both beaches. He loved eating at both beaches. He was able to get his own place in Compton, and he was content with that. Even after he got his own place, people thought he was still homeless. He made it a thing to get on those trains every day, hustling with his music. He didn't give himself off days. That's how he was able to keep the rent paid. His sister Monica had the baby, and by the time the baby was 3 years old, they bought him a Spanish guitar, and Monica got one for herself. They would all be at the pier singing, playing the Spanish guitar, and dancing. One day, Monica was crowned the Santa Monica Pier Queen. The end. All right, last story. No dialogue here, and it's a very, very short story. So this title is called, the other one was called Santa Monica Pier Busking. So this short story, like grandma's cooking. Okay, so a white American family whose ancestors immigrated from the UK 2 centuries ago lived on a farm close to Anderson, South Carolina, off the grid. Though they live on a farm and homeschool their children and grandchildren, they're not Amish. It's just that they got sick and tired of the government controlling, manipulating, and brainwashing people. They know about the Illuminati New World Order and depopulation. They refuse to feed their children or grandchildren GMO food or vaccinate them. They also try to avoid fluoride whenever possible. Their children and grandchildren never get sick. They're strong Christian preppers and truthers. They try to practice going back to the basics and model after the Great Depression era and live frugally. They're not rich at all. They teach their children and grandchildren survival skills. Madison Stallard and her husband Tyrone, yes, a white man named Tyrone, own an acre and a half of farmland. They had 20 chickens, 1 hog, a small pond with fish, and 5 goats. The children and grandchildren love the goats. That's why there are so many. They use the goats for soap, milk, cheese, and butter. They have a pear tree, a fig tree, a lemon tree, and a plum tree. They grow wheat, amaranth, lettuce, dandelions, carrots, beans, squash, onions, peppers, and broccoli. All organic and natural, of course. The children and grandchildren love to eat the clover leaves and flowers, the edible weeds that grow. They work at the farmer's market. They make and sell pear cider vinegar with their pears. They make and sell butters, jams, and preserves with their fruits. They do canning and they can and pickle their vegetables. They sell their wheat berries and amaranth flour. They sell soap, milk, cheese, and butter from the goats. They also grow lavender and make and sell their own essential oils. They sell their chicken eggs too. Madison and Tyrone believe in the Bible verse of having a quiver full of children. Psalms 127 and 3 through 5. They have 14 children and 8 grandchildren. Madison is 55 years old and her husband is 61. The kids and grandkids go nuts over the homemade fig pie, one of their favorite recipes. The recipe comes from Tyrone's grandma. He's a man who loves to cook and lives for cooking. He also loves to make his grandma's casserole. He calls it the Standard Family Casserole, which consists of broccoli, onions, peppers, green beans, dandelions, and carrots. It's made sort of like chicken pot pie, but has no meat, just the vegetables, eggs, and cheese. They use pink Himalayan salt to taste. They add a layer of rice on top. That man learned his good cooking skills from his grandma Louise. He misses his grandma Louise. The end. Oh, it seems kind of like I rushed through reading all that because I'm tired. So, I just be trying to be different. And, sometimes I hate it when you try to, veer off and come up with your own ideas and be different. And then people take you the wrong way or they get offended. But I think y'all gonna like these stories. And I say like certain things for more like description and emphasis, So I say, if this person was tall and brown skinned or whatever, y'all don't need to get offended by that. I'm just freaking describing. Or if I'm just having y'all get a picture of, the white man who was on the farm and he had a lot of kids and grandkids, the story I just wrote. Or if I mentioned about a black family who made it through successfully, struggling in the hood, and made it through the honest way and the God-given way rather than, the dishonest way of selling your soul or doing drugs or whatever. If they honestly went to school or got education or had, doing things the right way. I mean, y'all don't need to be offended by that. I try to even research and learn about different cultures and even different countries. I might do a short story about, people in Thailand or something like that. That's a country I felt like I wanted to go and visit, but I don't think I'll ever in my life get to go visit Thailand. So, but that's all I wanted to say. So, if y'all, like my short stories and if you appreciate them, you can donate however much you want. You don't have to, but thanks for the support. And I love y'all. And please, the reason why I said, because, narcissistic abusers purposely, in gang stalking perps, they purposely try to make me out to look bad and trying to make me out to be something that I'm not, or they try to, pretend like they want to fake like they're getting offended at something I did or said, just to create trouble and trying to destroy me and discredit me and stuff like that. So that's why I had to make this disclaimer and explain myself that no way do I intend on anybody acting like they want to take, my short stories to offense, because they don't want the truth out. And even if it's fiction, they don't want the ideas of truth out. And, they're trying to silence me and try to make me shut up. So they want to try to just look for any nitpicky excuse to want to try to just, pretend to act like they want to take offense to something I said or something I did, or they gang up on me and devour and attack me and stuff like that, and would cause real targeted individuals to make a mistake and, believe the smear campaigns of the narcissistic perps and stuff. So that's why I had to go and explain in more detail that if anything I say in these videos, please don't, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I mean, I can be talking about this pink cup and, they got something offensive to say about that. Or they would get offended about something like that. And I'd be like, what did I say wrong? So I'm just, putting out, clarification and disclaimer that it's not my intention to, make any of y'all uncomfortable or offended at anything I say in my videos or my short stories or anything like that. So I appreciate the support and thank you if you didn't get offended, because that's not what I'm trying to do. So I love y'all and I'll see y'all later. Bye.